In the early days of Marvel shows on Disney Plus, we saw that audiences would tune in pretty much habitually like they used to because it was the Marvel thing and you had to watch it in order to understand the next thing. But as time went on, we saw that that was starting to decrease, and to the point where Secret Invasion, the show centered around a legacy character who's been around since literally the first Marvel MCU movie, and no one seemed to care about it whatsoever. I mean, it did terrible scores for audiences and critics and had basically no viewership for the amount of money they spent on it. And that also carries over into the box office as well, because people aren't coming out to watch a Marvel movie just because it's a Marvel movie. It has to be something decent, and if it looks like it's going to be bad, then people will choose to skip it and just wait for it to come out on streaming services. And right now, all indicators suggest that the upcoming Captain America 4 is going to be another one of those bombs, because the studio is trying to scramble to fix it, because I don't know, I mean, it looks like they don't know what they're doing with it. Yesterday afternoon, the Hot Mike's Jeff Snyder was the first to report that Marvel's Captain Brave New World was moving to February 2025 after it didn't do great in a test screening. Now, I want to be fair and point out, just because a movie has negative test screenings doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a bad movie. After all, for people who don't know, a lot of times a movie studio will test screen a movie multiple times, especially if it's a bigger budget movie like this. And let's say hypothetically they did 10 test screenings for it and 2 of them were negative and 8 were positive. Well, yes, technically it would be true to say it has negative test screenings, and that's kind of normal when it comes to movies like this. But one thing that isn't normal is the amount of reshoots that they're doing for this movie, because if you're going to do extensive reshoots after negative test screenings, then it's kind of indicates that the test screenings overall are more negative than positive. Snyder went on to report that after receiving negative test scores, Brave New World is also getting extensive reshoots from January to May, with 3 major sequences being cut. Yes, that's a whopping 5 months of reshoots. 5 months of reshoots is pretty substantial, especially when you consider in Hollywood it takes on average 1 to 3 months in order to film a movie as a whole. And this one, they're doing 5 months of just the reshoots after the principal photography is already done. And now we're getting word that they're bringing in a new writer for this as well. With plenty of time until its February 14, 2025 theatrical release, Marvel Studios' Captain America Brave New World has hired Matthew Orton to pen additional scenes and material. This article goes on to say reshoot days can vary from as little as 3 days to more than 2 weeks. With it being reported this movie is going to be reshot for 5 months and they're bringing on an additional writer, it really does suggest that they're trying to change the movie as they go and make something that works, because of how bad the test screenings really were for this. And this wouldn't be an unusual thing for Disney, because in recent years we saw them famously do that for Solo, which they basically shot the movie once, didn't like the results, so they brought on a new writer, new director, and shot the movie again, and it was a huge box office failure and it cost the studio a lot of money. So it's not really a good plan, and they probably wouldn't be doing that unless they felt like they're really desperate and needed to change something fast. But the real question is, what do they have to change that kind of justifies the extensive reshoots? And that's where the rumors are kind of interesting about this. There are numerous rumors as to the reason for the movie's major delay. One theory involves a potential controversy over the Israeli character Sabra. Her inclusion was planned long before the current conflict between Israel and Palestine. The idea that she might be removed to avoid a potential scandal would make this only the second project featuring Sam Wilson to experience such changes. I'm not really sure what the scandal is in including a Jewish character, but I mean, if that's how they feel and it turns out that they're going to be removing her, then okay, I mean, I guess that's something that they can do, but I really have my doubts that they're going to be removing the Jewish character because she's Jewish or because she's Israeli. And if they do remove her character and the movie comes out and she's not there anymore, I think that really shines a spotlight in the type of audience that Disney has been trying to cultivate over these last few years.